run by a guy that calls his users that trust him dumb bleepers, and a group that wants you to face scan to buy and sell and uses all the data on you, and it's hooked into the globalist. That's why not this year, not 2012, but 2011 in St. Moritz, Switzerland, our reporters, Paul Watson and Aaron Dykes, were there, and it was Facebook people and Google crawling all over it. AP reports Facebook stock plunged to a new low Thursday after the expiration of a ban that had prevented some were allowed to, investors and insiders from dumping millions of additional shares they own in the social networking leader. Firms ranging from Accel Partners to Goldman Sachs and others. Peter Thiel, he was at Bilderberg, and Reid Hoffman were among those free to sell stock they own after the lifting of a ban known as a lock-up period. That was after the, quote, trouble the first few days as they were dumping. If many of them took advantage of that, Facebook stock could decline because the market would be flooded with nearly 2/3 more shares. So it is making its race towards the toilet bowl right now. And it's all a big joke to them. It's all funny. It's all real. It's funny to them they put fluoride in your water to brain damage you. Like right here in Austin, our mayor, I've been there. He laughs at scientists, you name it. He'll laugh at Harvard studies about brain damage, cancer. It's all funny. It's just like, you don't seem to understand. We know. You don't seem to get it. We enjoy it. So sit there and die, my little minions. It's all funny how they kill us. It's all funny how they rape and rob us. It's all funny until the giant awakens. I can see over the horizon.
You took advantage of my trust in you and I was so
That's what situational awareness is all about. But it's not hard to see for miles and miles if you're not naive. And if you've studied history, you can see for miles and miles and miles and miles. And it's our goal to get you to where you can see for miles and miles and miles, politically, economically, spiritually. Humans only live 75 years on average. In the last 6,000 years of recorded history, there's only been 60 generations. We're starting the 61st generation right now. A little more than 60 generations in recorded history. Humans always think they're smart, especially criminals. They think they got it all figured out. They have intelligence, but not wisdom. And they don't see what they create. They don't see their own megalomania. They're not humble. They think they're winning. If cancer had a consciousness, as I've said 1,000 times, it would think it was winning. It's not winning, it's destroying. As Max Kaiser said, who's joining us tomorrow, they're programmed to take it all. And when I've seen countless staged shootings, mass shootings, murders, terrorist attacks by every major government in the world in the last 100 years over and over again, from the czars to the Nazis to our government to the British government to Israel to the Arab governments. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book. And we have staged shootings of RFK, and the list goes on and on. Of course, we look at more modern events that have perfect timing with a bunch of anti-gun bills and UN treaties that have all the telltale signs. Of course, we look at it and say, number one suspect is who's done this before. And only the naivete of the general public, not knowing from historical experience and research, only the naivete allows this to happen. You know, Dave Mustaine's being attacked all over right now, and he's happy with that. Or talking about the fact that he thinks Obama's people have a hand in staging the shootings. They're the prime suspects. Now, why is that? Well, I mean, if they've been caught shipping guns into Mexico to kill thousands, as Larry Pratt has said, they've got to be looked at for staging these when it has all the telltale signs and the timing. And the fact that this is out there is going to backfire on the establishment. They think they're going to demonize this idea. Everybody I know is going, oh, yeah, that does make sense. because we know you're a pack of criminal liars. I didn't have to see for miles and miles and over the political horizon to know that Facebook was way overvalued, probably 10 times in its public offering, its initial public offering, to say it was a giant pump and dump scam with the whole media getting behind how great it was to sucker what they see as the idiot public. I'm going to tell you a brief story. I'm going to come back and go to news. I went yesterday. I took my son to work. I promised to take him to Barton Springs. Hadn't been there in about a year. It was like the Caribbean. Big spring-fed pool by the river. I mean, we're talking 2-foot-long bass, foot-long perch, just ultra gorgeous. I go there. I walk up, and the women are all standing there in line to pay to get in the city park, taking their time, acting weird, acting all neurotic with their kids. And I'm like, man, because this is liberals. There are a lot of good people there as well, but they're not even liberals. They call themselves liberals, just really neurotic, screwed up people that never live in the real world and are just really have problems. I'll have to go to break and finish the story. And I watched the young lady behind the counter. There's like 20 people in front of me. And I'm sitting there watching, because it kind of turns catty corner and I'm able to see. I'm sitting there watching, people watching, anthropology, sociology, psychology study. And I'm watching people say, thank you, when she hands them their change back. And I go up there and I said, hey, how you doing today? Doesn't say anything. Well, I'll tell you the rest of the story when we get back. But this is the future man of the globalists have their way. Mind-dead jellyfish. Hey, this is perfect music for Dave Mustaine now. His last record. This is from, 13? 13th album, that's why he called it 13. Public Enemy #1.
Jailbreaking a smoking gun. You won't believe the things I've done. And the killing is just for fun.
We are back live, ladies and gentlemen. Monday through Friday, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern. Back Sundays, 4 to 6 p.m. Nightly news, 7 o'clock Central. Streams out live to everybody. And I just learned that for a while, they've not been restreaming, and it just goes right to archive after it airs once, a lot of times live. No, we're going to keep restreaming the nightly news now for those of you that like the streams rather than waiting for a download. So that is back in effect there for people over at Prisonplanet.tv. Again, I want in a few minutes to re-air this. I aired this last week. The video is up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. I'm going to have one of the webmasters add Full Spectrum Evil, breaking down how the globalists manipulate countries and nations and religious groups against each other as divide and conquer. I'm going to air this again today ahead of Gerald Celente joining us. And then we're also going to have Richard Belzer on, who wrote Dead Wrong, Straight Facts on the country's most controversial cover-ups, where they staged shootings of RFK, JFK, the injection murder of Marilyn Monroe, and the shooting killing of Martin Luther King. We sell it at InfoWarsShop.com, but the movie star and TV host, TV star, will be joining us, scheduled coming up in the third hour today. Dave Mustaine is locked and loaded to tape an interview with me today because he's in recording studio right now, and he's pretty professional. He just does everything in the order he said he would. I was set to go to a meeting after 2 that I can't really miss. I don't know what we're going to do with that. Just so happens I happen to have a recording, though, of Dave saying what's all in the news right now that I never aired. I told people he said some controversial stuff, and he wanted to air it, and I said, you know what? I said, they're going to spin this against you, and even though you'll come out good on the end, I'm tired of my show being places where my friends get attacked. I learned my lesson with Charlie Sheen. Again, huge attention for this show. Instead of 1 million visitors a day on InfoWars, try 5 million for about a week. But it's my friends. And I don't want to see them have problems. I mean, I'm here to say it's an inside job. All the evidence points towards it. I mean, I'm kind of the kamikaze. But Dave's done it. You know, Dave wanted to say it, so he said it. He said it more cogently because he was on stage there and more focused on the show. So I pretty much already been given the green light to play it so he can clarify. Said it a few weeks ago, but clarified now what he said a few days ago with a tape. But I figure I might just get him on instead. So who knows? Maybe at the end of the Belzer interview, Mustaine may pop in or something. He's got to break then. But we're working on all that right now. It is a big national news story. It is in hundreds of publications right now. We have an Infowars.com article, Dave Mustaine, Obama staged Batman massacre like Fast and Furious down at the border. Well, really what he's saying is he thinks they may have, and that if you're already known for doing stuff like this, you got to be a chief suspect when you have all the telltale signs of people saying multiple shooters. We're going to be going over all of that. And then with Gerald Celente, they've said the British have said they're going to raid the Ecuadorian, that totally violates international law and common sense, that they're going to raid the embassy. Armed raid, that's an attack on a sovereign country. That's a war if they don't give up Assange, who's gotten asylum. They were just blaming the Chinese a few weeks ago. The Chinese were saying, release our political dissident out of your embassy. And then, you know, and of course, the Chinese did not dare go into the U.S. embassy. But now the Brits, the globalists, are so lawless, they're saying they're going to go after him with an armed raid. Greeks confront crime wave amid austerity. BBC, because they've taken most of the guns there. They have draconian gun control, and the public is just being fed on it. It says the police can't protect them. Oh, really? What do you think happens in New York and Chicago? By the way, they're reporting here that areas out around the world that were the most dangerous in other countries are no longer the most dangerous in the world, because Chicago is now the most dangerous in the world. So because they have total gun ban for the citizens there as well. And we're going to get into Biden. Looks like he's out. Big stack of news on that front and what that signifies. We'll cover that after this break. But here is the video/audio presentation. Full spectrum evil. The video of your radio listener will be posted in the next 20 minutes at Infowars.com. Get this out to everybody, because if you want to understand why the bankers are funding Al-Qaeda, you need to see this video and hear this audio. Here it is. Alex Jones here to cover a topic, an issue that is one of the most important I've ever discussed. This information is very closely held by governments and elite corporations. They do not want you understanding this. Now, many of you that are already aware of this, it'll seem simple, but large swaths of the global population have no idea the real geopolitical paradigm that we're living in today. Today, we will look at the real forces, the real players in the battle for 21st century global hegemony. I'm going to break down who really rules the world, how they control the planet, and how they are trying to usher in a world war that is really pointed at the general population. To begin my illustration, I have 3 different board games here. Chess, the classic game of Risk, as well as Monopoly. And we're going to look at these systems of stylized warfare. And between these 3 systems, we find the truth of the system that we're living under. How do we know that system? Well, books written by people like Carol Quigley at Georgetown, Bill Clinton's mentor. They think we're stupid, and so we have their own documents. To begin with, I'm going to use a Lego chess set as an illustration to break down primitive forms of government, warfare, and domination. If you look at this set, you notice there are 2 sides. There is the red and there is the green, or there is the black, there is the white. From the beginnings of civilization more than 6,000 years ago until about 1700, this was the model of warfare between nations. There were occasional alliances, but by and large, warfare and politics was carried out in a very 2-dimensional way, like a chess set. You have the ruling class, the royalty, the priest class, the military elite, the generals, and in front of them you have basically their conscripts, or the lower class fighters, who can also represent just the general population. And these 2 groups are engaged in warfare and base domination against each other to control larger areas of land and the vassal